I'll leave it at that. But it's your friendly neighborhood old soldier coming at you again from Robeson County, North Carolina. As I'm on my way to head down the road, go to work. Let's talk about the government and all its evil manifestations. Specifically, what I'm going to talk about is that, well, as we all know, well, I don't know if everybody knows or not, but apparently there was an emergency stopgap spending bill to keep the government funded for 45 more days. So they go back and talk about who's going to line whose freaking pockets. Did you? Oh, yeah, I said that out loud. I don't give a rat's rear end. Then you get this freaking ass clown, not safe for work, not safe for children, been warned, by the name of Hakeem Jeffries. I do believe he's from New Jersey. Freaking moron. What we saw was a total surrender of right-wing extremists. No, what we see is Kevin McCarthy got down on his knees in front of you. Well, y'all can imagine the rest. I won't get that vulgar. But you see, instead of going before the people and saying, we and our distinguished colleagues from the other side of the aisle came together and we've passed a measure that will keep things going for 45 more days as we continue to work for a more permanent solution to a budget. But no, he automatically had to turn it into a touted victory of sorts. And it's not conservatives didn't surrender, it was just a defeat. Because there's too many freaking rhinos in Congress right now, and we got a feckless, worthless son of a bitch for the House freaking Speaker. And mind you, a government shutdown would have impacted my son and my son-in-law. Yes, both of them are active duty. It would have impacted them directly. Now, that brings me to my next point. Somehow or other, the puppet in chief was like, well, if the government shuts down, Ukraine, I promise you, we're going to keep you and your people funded. What kind of horse mess is that? When did another nation's economy and the salaries of another nation's government become more important than paying our fighting men and women, who, by the way, voluntarily served, many of which have families? I think the last time I heard, almost half of the military force is married with families now. It's not like it was 40 years ago where that number was only 20 or 30%. More and more service members are married or get married while in the service, which means they get additional benefits, additional pay. Let me break it down to you. When you join the active military, you got some National Guard and Army Reserve recruiters that talk about we do the same thing. No, they don't. They don't get paid the same unless they're called to active duty. But while on active duty, a service member draws full pay and allowances. What are allowances? Allowances are clothing, food, housing. But not every service member gets a housing or food allowance. Why? Because either their job or their unit or the fact that they're not married. In order to draw a housing allowance, you have to be authorized by your commander to live outside of government quarters or billets. Okay? Case in example, let's say I'm a single soldier, not married, but I make sergeant. And then I go get sent on recruiting duty. And they send me out to Timbuktu where there's no military facilities whatsoever around. Well, now they have to give me what's called a basic allowance for housing, which is based on my rank and the zip code of which I would be stationed in. And that money is to be used for rent and utilities. Sadly, it doesn't always cover the full cost of both. Some places it does, some places it doesn't. Why? Because you got some meticulous bean counter at the Pentagon that fouls everything up sometimes. Because I lived there 4 years ago and it wasn't that way. Okay, dude, we don't live there now. Then they also draw what's called BAS, or Basic Allowance for Substance. And if they're not near a military installation, they'd probably draw what's called Rations in Kind Not Available, which is the highest rate that a service member can be paid. And it basically covers the cost of 3 meals a day. Okay. Now, let's say I'm married and I'm up here near Fort Bragg and I'm living off base, off post. I'd still draw BAH and I'd get basic allowance for substance, but it'd be at the normal rate. And that BAS is not for my family, but for me, the service member. And it's designed again to pay for 3 meals a day if I were to eat in the mess hall 3 times a day. Now, naturally, most soldiers married, when I was in, we went to Burger King or Kentucky Fried Chicken. I might have eaten the mess hall for lunch 2, maybe 3 times a week. I might have ate their breakfast, which was actually the best meal of the day at the mess hall, 3 to 4 times a week, if possible. There were some mornings I had to go grab a muffin and a cup of coffee and drive on. Okay. The bottom line, that's what BAS is supposed to cover. Now, the service members that live inside the barracks don't get that. They don't get the housing allowance, nor do they get the BAS. Because why? Government quarters are being provided for them. Even though Fort Bragg needs to go back to sue every contractor that built or renovated barracks over the last 40 years there, because there's more mold problems and you can shake a stick at them, Fort Bragg. And, you know, you got service members going on sick call because of upper respiratory infections, but the real problem is not being addressed by our worthless, feckless Congress to rectify that situation. You know, all they want to do is slap a Band-Aid on a growing problem instead of, let's go after the people that did this, hold them accountable, get our money back, and hire competent, professional contractors. Do away with the government contracting system, which is really not fair, even though it says it is. Yeah, okay, I'm on a rant. But long story short, soldiers living in the barracks, they don't get a housing allowance, they don't get basic allowance of substance. Now, for those soldiers that do, when they go to the field, for every day that they're in the field, they're supposed to surrender 1 day of BAS, because why? Rations are projected for every service member for the number of days they're going to be in the field in order to feed them for those 3 days. So therefore, the money that the government would pay them is supposed to be deducted from that, as if though they were eating in the mess hall. I had a soldier one time, we went to the field for 2 weeks. He wanted to know what happened to his basic allowance for substance. And I explained it to him. He understood it. But boy, his wife didn't like it. She said, "No, that money's for us." I said, "No, ma'am, it's not." But he had been telling her that, the government just stole his money. Well, instead of accepting his answer, she came to the unit demanding answers. "Ma'am, respectfully, your husband has lied to you. Why or what for is none of my business. That's between you and him. But here's the military regulations on that. Now, nothing nobody here did. Well, he said y'all didn't eat all that food out there." I said, "Ma'am, that's irregardless. He was provided the opportunity to eat. Now, he chose not to eat. Why did he have to go buy all this hoagie bait, as he calls it? Nobody made him buy anything, man. Well, he said someone told him he needed to get some beanie weenies and crackers and take that with him as well." No, ma'am. What he was told was if he wanted to bring something like that to snack on between meals, or if that's what he wanted to eat, that was entirely up to him to do so. But nobody said he had to. The whole time, husband's standing there and just like, Sergeant, you're really dropping a manhole cover? Yeah, because I'm not going to incur the wrath of your wife. Anyway, for you, Brother Kyle. Back to the whole thing, if the government shuts down, the basic pay and these allowances would not be paid out. And granted, most military installations, they gear for this. Landlords contact their tenants. If you bank with an institution that has done business with the military for years. Case example, I have USAA. My daughter and her husband got Navy Federal Credit Union. I'm not sure. I think my other son banked with USAA. They issued statements such as, if in the event of a government shutdown, a no-cost loan will be provided to you, or a no-interest loan will be provided to you in the event of a government shutdown in order for you to meet your expenses. And basically, when you got retroactive back pay, you pay your loan off that way. Great, wonderful. But see, now, that's not the case for the civilian government employees, which is not right. Why? Because during the Obozo years, yeah, I called him what he is, we had the so-called, really wasn't a shutdown per se, but they were sending us home one day early a week when I worked out there as a civilian for a time. So when it all came up and said and done, I lost about a week's pay out of it. But they didn't come back and retroactively pay us. But damn sure Congress got paid. That's the other thing. They cover their ass. Sons of bitches. And this whole mess of funding other countries that don't like us. When are we going to stop spilling foreign aid out to countries that hate us? To countries that spend money on trying to figure out why monkeys throw poop and shrimp run on a damn treadmill. Don't none of it make a lick of sense. Throwing money out hand over fist, throwing the baby out with the bathwater every time we do this. It needs to stop. Kevin McCarthy needs to be pulled out of the House speakership, and somebody's got some intestinal fortitude needs to step up to the plate and look down at the communists that call themselves Democrats and say, enough's enough. This is the line in the sand. Buck stops here. We ain't going for this crap no more. You don't like it, tough. You don't like the fact we want to cut Medicaid expansion, tough. You don't like the fact we want to put caps on welfare, tough. You don't like the fact that we're going to cut public college funding and return that back over to the states to do, tough. The other thing, federal funding to state universities. So that's education. It is. They should be up to the state how they raise the money for it, not the federal government. Sorry, there it is. You don't agree with it, tough. Kiss my ass. That way, these schools can't use the excuse, well, we can't do it because they'll take our federal dollars away. No, if you raise your own damn money, you ain't got to worry about it. You ain't got to worry about it one bit. Whatsoever. We can't teach that because, well, stop taking federal dollars. And maybe some of these dadgum four-year universities will stop setting up these BS degree programs. and actually start offering programs that will get people employed when they graduate. What do you mean, old soldier? Well, case example, when I was an Army recruiter, high school guidance counselors I had to deal with would push anybody to 4-year college. They didn't care which college they went to, they didn't care what darn degree they went for. I had one of them argue with me one time. So what if they get a liberal arts degree? It's still a degree. Yeah, tell me what they're going to do. They're going to be a school teacher? Even then, I would fathom to guess that it wouldn't be a very effective degree for school teaching. Tell me where they're going to go with a liberal arts degree. Tell me what kind of corporate America's going to hire them. Well, corporate America don't want somebody with a liberal arts degree. You believe that all day long you won't, but they don't. And let's don't talk about, high school guidance counselors actually doing the right thing and referring certain kids into trades programs. No, we want them all to go to 4-year college. Well, guess what? Little Johnny or little Jane's not cut out for college. At least not at this time. But they do like to work with their hands. Send them to a trade school. Guess stop sign's optional for you. Send them to trade school. God forbid a guidance counselor do that. The other thing with guidance counselors, I used to see it. There were a disciplinary problem that automatically send them to the junior ROTC department. Those ROTC people can make them mind. So what you're telling me is that these school teachers that you tout to be the best can't handle certain kids. Okay. But you think because these people that were in the military can handle disciplinary problems like the ones you're sending them to them. Guess what? They don't want those headaches either. They would just assume you kick that kid out of school or send them to alternative school, whatever your municipality is, but quit sending the discipline problems to the ROTC department. Because that takes away from what they're trying to teach the kids that actually want to be there. Which, contrary to popular opinion, what they teach is good moral citizenship. What it is to be an American citizen. Why it's proud to be an American citizen. Yes, they learn some military history, but contrary again, junior ROTC does not teach about war as far as how to fight it, this, that, or the other. They don't. Teach you organizational skills, management skills, leadership skills, but they're not running out here in the woods teaching kids how to dig foxholes. Yeah, they'll take them to military bases for obstacle course type stuff, but again, there's people paying thousands of dollars to go do that in the corporate America. These kids are getting to go do it for free. So if you ever thought that's what junior ROTC was about, you've been so educated otherwise. Yeah, another tangent. Back to the point at hand. So if the government shuts down, Congress is affected, or not affected, but the average person in the service is. Several government employees are, which, in that case, if they disband certain government institutions and organizations, it wouldn't be as large of an impact. Like doing away with the DEA, about 3/4 of the IRS, all of the ATF, about 1/4 of the FBI, reduced the number of Treasury agents that are on the payroll. What else? Oh yeah, the Department of the Interior, the EPA, can all their asses. Yeah. Anyway, folks, let me get off here. So I get another one out. Friendly neighborhood old soldier out.